Dobrý den, vážení diváci a divačky. Vítáme vás u dalšího dílu podcastu. Tento podcast bude speciální tím, že bude celý v angličtině, a to z toho důvodu, že tady máme Paula Busheyho. Ahoj, Paula.
Hey, Eda.
So, first off, we're gonna get some basic information about you. So, I want to ask you, how old are you, and where were you born?
Okay. Well, I'm 55 years old, and I was born in the United States, in a state called Maine. It's a small state in the
Do you like Maine? Was it nice there?
Maine is beautiful. It's got a lot of really nice nature. You know, clean lakes, rivers, mountains, sea. It's a really pretty place. So I was lucky to be born there. But I actually have a house in Virginia, and that's where I lived before I came to Czech.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What are some of your hobbies? I heard you liked cycling, so is that one of them?
Yeah, definitely. So cycling is nice, walking, enjoy a little bit of baking at home.
What is your favorite thing to bake?
Oh gosh. Well, I think that probably the thing that is my favorite, I guess I'd have to say chocolate chip cookies, because I'm so busy these days. I don't have a lot of time for my hobbies, to be honest. And so it's nice that I've made them a number of times, so I don't have to think about it too much, you know, so I can fit it into my tight schedule.
Just so it's a relaxation for you.
Sometimes it's relaxing. Sometimes I feel it's an obligation that, you know, for the holidays people want cookies and got to do it, but really busy with other things. So lately I have sort of other priorities, but yeah, I'd say I like baking cakes and my chocolate chip cookies. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you like sweets? Yeah.
I like sweets a lot, actually. I have a sweet tooth.
Yeah?
So
maybe I could hook you up with some chocolate chip cookies.
Okay. When have you decided to live abroad?
I decided to come here, well, probably it was like 10 years ago. I've been here almost 10 years. And we quit our jobs, cycled across the USA, and then moved here. And originally we planned to be here only a couple of years, and I just couldn't leave. So
you couldn't because of some obligations, or do you like it so much that it's just homey here?
Well, I figured if I returned, the FBI might find me, but actually, no, I wasn't like restricted from leaving by any like law, but I just it was comfortable for me here. I had good jobs. I've met some nice friends here, and we adopted children, and this is their home, and we just got in a groove, you know, and so, yeah.
One thing I want to ask you is, have you been to other countries or just Czech Republic? And have you lived there or just here?
Well, this is really the only place I've ever lived other than in the USA. I've visited, you know, a number of countries, you know, Canada, Mexico, obviously nearby my house, and I say here, Croatia, surrounding countries, you know, to this
Slovakia, Poland, Romania,
Hungary, Bulgaria, so England, I've been there before a long time ago, so yeah, but this is my home, has been my home for about 10 years, as I've said, and we live in a beautiful little cottage nearby Bruntál, and so I've come to think of this as, well, this is my home. So
why did you decide on Czech Republic? Was there any specific reason why you came here?
Well, the beer, and the beautiful women.
Okay.
That's the canned cliche answer, I guess. Really? Well, my wife is Czech, and so, you know, when we thought about adopting kids, we had choices. We could have more easily done this in the USA, but we wanted to adopt older children, and we wanted them to be able to speak to their Czech family, Czech grandparents, as well as their American grandparents. So had we adopted from USA, they probably would never have learned Czech well enough to speak to their
It's hard to
Czech
learn Czech as an American, I guess.
It's not as common, so you know the kids, but they've learned English. They speak pretty well, so we feel confident that they can, you know, communicate with their grandmother back in the States. And yeah.
Okay. What did you major in? That's a question I have been waiting to ask you a long time ago.
Wow. Math.
Math.
So math, and with a concentration on direction of abstract. So teaching, some teaching coursework along with that.
So it would be only natural that you would teach math here?
Well, that's a good question. I've had the opportunity, but most people want me to teach English for whatever reason. It's more needed, more popular, and so that's sort of where I've ended up. You know, this English world. Yeah.
Okay. Did you experience some
you
sort
like
of...
math, or I'm sorry?
It's fine. I don't like math. I'm very bad at
I'm
math.
leaving.
I'm just bad at it. So I like the practice of it, like when you have to count something and divide something.
But the more abstract stuff, you're.
I hate remembering things.
Oh.
So for me, math right now is just
I understand.
a pain.
I like remembering things. It's just sometimes I can't. So.
Did you experience some sort of prejudice in the Czech Republic, like you're American and you're a foreigner? So did you experience some sort of like racism and such?
I have to say that in my experience, most Czech people have been really friendly with me, you know, like accommodating, you know, positive experiences. I can't think of anything really that comes to my mind about, you know, negative experiences. I guess when I first came here, I don't know if it was in Czech or Slovakia, I don't remember, we were in Vysoké Tatry, and I remember some cottages that we rented, and our Czech friends rented a cottage. They arrived before us and they rented a cottage, and then we saw them, Radka and her boyfriend, we saw them, and they told us like how much money it was, and we went to rent an identical cottage, and before we went in, my wife was suspicious that if had I spoken English, that they would have charged more money for the cottage. This was a long time ago, though, and I don't think since that I've had that kind of, you know, oh, he's a rich American, we're going to charge him more money. I haven't experienced that, but it's opened my eyes a bit since I've adopted Roma children, and I know that there are some challenges here between the Roma people and non-Roma in Czech, and so this is a tough question, but yeah, no, I haven't had any bad experiences really, to be honest.
What inspired you to be a teacher?
Well, I've had a few different experiences in my life, and teaching wasn't like always my, some people are like, oh, when I grow up, I want to be, and that wasn't me. I was like, when I grow up, I want to be older. I didn't really have a plan for myself, but I guess a few things come to mind. Like I had a math teacher in ninth grade, Mr. Irish, who I thought was really great, how he interacted with students, and I think I started to really like math when at that point when he was my teacher, and I admired him, and I never really thought much more about it, but then years later, when I sort of fell into the teaching profession, he was there in my mind when I made that decision. But no, my wife is a teacher, and I had a variety of educational experiences, but nothing like, I had coursework for engineering, some general courses that I had taken because it was sort of cheaper in the Air Force. I was there for 4 years, and it was cheaper, so they paid 75%, and so I was just wayward, but taking classes, not knowing really which direction, and when I met my wife, she said, well, have you thought about teaching? I was like, well, not really. And in college, when I went back to finish my bachelor's degree, one of the math professors, asked me if I wanted to help him. He was teaching a lower level class, college math, and so I was like his assistant for a while, and I got to like it. So I was like, I like interacting with people. So,
come to think of it, what were some jobs that you had before being a teacher?
Okay, so as I mentioned, I was in the Air Force for a while.
What did you do there?
Well, before I was in the Air Force in high school, I started as a dishwasher, and then I did various positions in the kitchen, and soon enough I was like the second in charge in the kitchen, which is strange because I don't really like food that much, except baking, sweets. But so I was there, and then I went in the Air Force. I was an airplane mechanic. So I worked on B-52s and KC-135 models, and did that for 4 years, and decided, well, I'm not that good at this, or I don't care for it that much, and it didn't feel right. So I got out of the Air Force and I was like unsure what I wanted for a while, so that's when I went back into cooking and baking. I was baking professionally for 2 years. And then when I decided to go back to school for something, yeah. So.
Do you have some sort of story from your life that you would like to share with us?
Okay, I could talk about my cycle trip, my bike trip across the States, if that fits.
Yeah, sure.
So before we came to Czech in 2014, we quit our jobs at the end of the school year in June, and decided we had planned a cycle tour, self-contained, our own, we went from Washington, D.C. to Washington State in the West. And so I guess this was probably, definitely one of the most memorable times of my life. So we lived like basically in our tent, and we weren't in a hurry. We spent more than 3 months on the road, living, like a homeless person, basically. And this was, I have so many like little snippets of little memories from many different states and many people that we met along the way. And I have many little tiny stories that fit in that bicycle ride, I guess I could say. Like, I don't know, one time.
Can you give an example of one single one?
Sure. How about? I said we slept in our tent 90% of the time. We also had a social network called Warm Showers that we belonged to. We hosted people in our house, and then we stayed in like 4 or 5 places across the states. And one story that Czech people sometimes find interesting, that we found, there are usually like a map, you look and click on the name and it tells you what, who it is and some info about the house and what they're offering, if you can stay in their garden with your tent, or if they're offering a bedroom or sharing some cooking and telling stories. And it's really a very nice experience. And so this one time we found this guy who happened to be the head of the American Cycling Association, that does bike tours and everything. Mm-hmm. And we organized that we would stay at his place, right? And then probably like the day that, a week later, or no, 3 days later, when we arrived in his city, I called him, as we had agreed. I called him and said, "Hey, Arlen, so we'll be at your place like at this time." And he said, "Oh, I'm at work right now." And he said, "But it doesn't matter." He said, "The code to the garage to the security is 75432, and just to help yourself, make yourself at home. Your bedroom is the one at the end of the hall on the left. Mine is the one on the right. Please don't go in there, but help yourself to any food you want in the fridge. Make yourself at home. I'll be home after work about 4:30, and we can maybe talk about cooking dinner and our experiences, and it'll be fun. I look forward to it." So just the level of trust, mm-hmm. And this, he was an interesting guy too, and some things I won't forget. He lent us his car. We went to town and got some foods. On a bicycle, it's kind of harder to carry things, so it was nice. Yeah, just trusting people and interesting people that we met along the way.
Okay, thank you for that.
Sure.
Can you tell us some big differences between the Czech Republic and the USA?
Sure. So, differences. Well, USA is pretty big. So, Czech is about the size of my home state, Maine. So there are a lot of differences. I'm not sure.
Some cultural differences,
sure,
for example.
Like, so here in Czech, let's see. Well, you have a question of, I think if I remember right, you have some questions about education, so I don't want to give the education difference yet. But, so a lot more cars. I mean, so we had to have 2 cars if you live away from the city. There aren't a lot of buses and trains, public transport, as many Czech people know, in USA. Outside of the big cities is pretty poor, really. Not many connections. Just you really need a car to survive as an adult in the USA. And I think here you can live in a village and not have a car and still manage. So I think that's a pretty big difference. Yeah. How about you? Do you know of any differences that you have heard about or seen on TV or anything like that?
I would say not many cultural. Like, there are definitely different cultures, but it's so many smaller details that it just doesn't make sense to talk about them. But one big difference is that we have a lot more trains, and our state has big train coverage, basically.
Yeah. And you mentioned cultures, like, of course, we have a lot of Mexican Americans, and, not just in the South or in California, but throughout, in the North, Canadian Americans, more coming over. We have, so many Europeans. I think there's about 1 million Czech people living in the USA. So just the multiculturalism, the melting pot, Mm-hmm. So this is, the African Americans. So the black population is pretty big, especially in the South, like the Southeast, of course. Yeah. So we have lots of different components of different cultures. You can see it in the food, for example. Really, if you enjoy food, that everybody bring, no pun intended, everybody brings something to the table, with their ethnic dishes and such. So you have this new American cuisine, this mixing of different flavors and textures and stuff.
How did you come to our school? Did someone reach you and ask you, or have you tried to find a job by yourself here?
Well, let's see. So I work in several other schools in Krnov, the transport tourism school in Krnov, and Alfon company here in Bruntal, and I've had several experiences, and I've been really lucky to have a lot of interest and people, interested if I wasn't happy in one place or if I wanted more hours here or there. So I worked with, one of my adult students was a manager in a Alfon company here in Bruntal, and she was friendly with, or she had worked with one of the teachers here at our school. I don't know if she would care of me mentioning her name or not, so it was this connection of people who know people, and so she said, yeah, this guy, and again, I think native speakers are pretty popular in this area and not so abundant. So so I've been lucky to find a place that I feel at home because I like technical things, and this is a technical school, so it sort of feels right, Yeah.
Can you tell us some funny story that you experienced while teaching here at our school?
A funny story from our school?
Yeah, if there's any.
Wow. I'm sure there's something. I feel so underprepared. I'm sorry that let's see, a funny story from our school.
Yeah.
How about, so I've been here maybe 5 years. That feels about right. That's my 5th year right now. And so during 2019, 2020, Corona, so this was maybe not a funny story, but just a kind of an image of something very unusual. It was really spooky to be here. I was doing my lessons during distance learning, right? Because, living in a chata in Valshov, it was my internet connection, so it wasn't so fast. So I had permission from the school. Well, I was doing our lessons from inside, from a classroom in the school, and it was kind of eerie to, walk into the school and it's dark and there's no students here. It just felt so strange, it added to the bizarre experience, the already bizarre experience of, of doing lessons online and such. This just the quietness. It was missing so much without the students here, and I guess because the students weren't here. It was a perfect opportunity for construction on the school to get completed, some little projects. Perfect opportunity, but it kind of had we had to move around to another classroom because one side of the building had some jackhammers, brrr, going on. So I would say, talking to some students, and suddenly brrr, everything is shaking, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here, So this surprise, I guess I need to move to another room, but so everybody had to be flexible, But we were lucky that we still got to teach. You guys still got to learn, and we made it happen. We were flexible, and we
overcame it
that's
together.
Right. IT department was very accommodating here. They really worked hard to help us poor, sad, tech-troubled teachers to stay online. So we did it.
What are some differences between the school system in USA and in Czech Republic?
Yeah, so first I have to say that one big difference, I think, is that here, when you're 15 years old, you kind of have to, in Czech, you sort of have to decide which way you're going to go, you know, like which direction, more technical or to the academic, to university, or you know, you sort of feel like, it feels like you're not really, in my opinion, ready for this, but you have to sort of make that decision, and it's probably harder to change course after you've already decided this, and whereas for us, you're still kind of like a child until you don't have to be like forced into that corner until you're a little bit older, I think. What else? Maybe like in Czech, like say elementary school students, parents sort of help them with their studies, you know, and guide them. And I think more often in my country, it's sort of like, you know, the parents are like, woohoo, they're gone, go to school and they'll take care of you, you know. And so many American parents, I don't think, really get involved as deeply with their kids' education in elementary school as much as they do here in Czech. So it's sort of 100% on the teacher, you know, at that point, with obvious exceptions, but you know, in general, I think that's something. I don't know. There are a lot of differences. If I'm a teacher in USA and I say I've been at a school for 3 or 4 years, the likelihood that I have my own classroom as a teacher is higher, is quite good. So, for example, in Virginia, I had my own classroom after my second year of teaching, and so students moved throughout the hallways into my class. So I had everything prepared on the board, you know, the seats arranged how I wanted them. It was my room. I had the posters I wanted on the walls, you know. So it was sort of a comfortable thing to like be ready the second the students walked in the door, you know. So it took a little adjustment here to moving around and such. It's still not easy sometimes. Set everything up, log into the computer, all these little things add up the time. Maybe also we had block scheduling. So the lessons were like 86 minutes long, right? Imagine that one. Have you experienced that, like long lessons?
Not
like a double
really.
lesson? No? So that's a little bit of a different teaching style, different learning. You have to, you know, break up the lesson into different parts and do different activities and move around, and it's more dynamic, I guess, you know.
We have more lessons that combine together, but we have smaller breaks between them. So we didn't really ever experience, I think at least, any sort of like 80 or 90 minutes lessons.
Yeah, so it takes some getting used to, but both ways do. When I came here, it took me a lot of getting used to 45-minute lessons. You know, I was teaching and suddenly, boom, there's the bell. What? I haven't even started yet, you know, or I'm half done. So it's really your internal teacher time clock gets all miswired, you know, tangled wires. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Nebudeme mluvit česky? Ne. To je dobře. It's not easy for me. I try, but...
So, what would you change in our school system or in the US? Is there something you would change?
I would give me more money. No, what would I change? In the U.S. school system, did you say, or here, or both?
In
either one.
U.S. or
okay, so,
either one.
Well, I guess in the USA, one thing I liked when I first arrived here in Czech was I felt like this little bit higher level of respect for teachers. So, you know, like when we walked into a classroom, the students stood up. I was like, whoa, this is different, to greet me, or in the, the priority in the dining hall, in the canteen, like that I can walk to the front of the canteen and,
I think you shouldn't, and many teachers shouldn't, but they abuse the respect we have for them, at least in my opinion.
Okay.
There
I thought it was just a regular part of
it isn't
Czech
any,
teachers
it isn't any written rule, but you have it like banged into your brain that it's okay.
Okay, yeah.
As a student.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. But basically just, I feel like some older Czech teachers will complain and say that the student respect has really gone down has decreased over the years and such. But when I kind of compare where I was in Winchester and here, I obviously had respectful students there as well, but the dynamic, like the range of respect between students from the most disrespectful to the most respectful in the USA, when I carry that over to Czech, the lower end was a little bit higher, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I had, there was a situation in one school I was in that, for example, that a student kicked a teacher down the stairs. So, I mean, that hasn't happened to me here yet.
That is incredible.
I won't mention the school. I've been at several schools, and I don't want to cause any trouble. I mean, these things happen. You get some students have problems, family troubles, sometimes some mental issues, and some teachers might not always deal with these problems in the best way, and so situations can escalate. Yeah. So it happens. But my third day of work at one school, there was a fight between two girls, and they were really ripping hair out and going crazy, it wasn't the regular thing at this school. I mean, it only happened a couple of times in my number of years there, but third day of school, I was like, what have I got myself into here, right? So, but I haven't seen any fights like that here, but I suppose I'm too spoiled about having my own classroom or something, but
it could be cool though.
I guess more modern whiteboards would be good, that I could easily erase the whiteboards and quickly, move on. That would be kind of nice. What else? Just maybe I would do less book work. Speaking from a perspective of English conversation, maybe, that less, turn to page 62 kind of thing, and more, I don't want to say all spontaneous. Obviously, you plan the theme and you have some activities and you just center everything around it, Maybe something like this sort of
more improvisation.
Maybe a little bit more group work, more. I once did some školení, some training, teacher training. This thing called the flipped classroom, and it was basically a tech thing where you would make videos of your lessons, or you would make, say, not necessarily a video of my beautiful face, but it could be me at the board solving math problems. It could be just on a graphics tab or something, doing some work and talking, and you basically would make some quiz to accompany the video. Students would do this work at home and then come the next day, and practice math in the lesson while I'm there to help them with their math and practice with them. Basically kind of like doing the lecture at home before, and the homework is to watch the lecture or watch the lesson, the examples, and then the practice would be in a supportive environment instead of like a lot of kids complain and parents complain about high school math, that, at the parent-teacher conferences, they tell me, oh, I try to help him, but I don't understand how to do that, or I've forgotten how to do that. Or parents try to help their kids maybe, or kids try to do it and they do it all wrong. Then they practice like solving the problems wrong, and they get really good at solving the problems wrong. And then it's harder to change it, harder to help them. So this was sort of maybe it would be a good, I think during the Corona times, this was a little bit done, but it's a whole different mindset from the administrators, from the teachers, and from the students and everybody. So everybody has to be on board, but this flipped classroom thing is kind of cool, I think. Yeah. Should I get my bulletproof vest on?
No, it's fine.
No.
You actually included one of my next questions. That's
okay.
Cool.
Fire away. Well, figuratively speaking. Fire away now.
We're gonna get to that.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever had a favorite student?
Well, I think it's really hard for teachers to not feel like a connection with some student more than another, we're human beings, but
you don't have to name him
I don't
or her.
think, okay, you're my favorite. No,
oh, thank you.
I don't,
that was.
I've had over the years a number of students who I kind of remember little interesting life details about them, and I've had, interactions with a number of students, like, I don't know, just, I can't think of a name off the top of my head, really, to be honest, but, yeah, definitely I've had students who, I don't know if I want to say they're like my favorite, but that are really pleasant to spend time with, or to help with solving problems, or to work with, but no, they favorite students. Try to treat people equally. In a perfect world, or in a way, I'd like many students to think that they are one of my favorites, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Just sort of to be really kind and friendly to everyone, and not play favorites, not. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of, I remember an 8th grade teacher who had like his favorite students, and it was very obvious to everyone that these 2 students were his favorites, and it felt to me kind of strange, and it wasn't, I don't think it was really professional to make that sort of, obvious at all to anyone, yeah, so. Have you ever had a favorite teacher?
I have many favorite teachers. I will not name them.
Okay.
But yeah,
nobody you want to name in public to sort of cause any trouble.
Well, on the record, you 2 are amazing. Just so you know.
Thank you.
But that's besides the point.
We know, of course.
Okay, when we're talking about favorites, can you describe a perfect student?
Didn't we do that one? I thought we did that a minute ago. No?
That was a favorite.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, a perfect
okay.
student.
Yeah,
in a perfect world,
okay,
what would be a
I think
description of a perfect
I'm not
student?
sure if I would characterize this as perfect, because I think but I guess I could think of like what are some really great characteristics that I think a quality student or a really good student should have, and sort of put those in the mix here.
Sure, go ahead.
So, I think it's easier to be a good student in a subject when you like that subject, when it's like your favorite, But on the other hand, when it's a subject you hate, then it's really easy to not be a good student in that class, So I guess somebody that in general is just a great student, I think that they go to a class, for example, that they don't like, and they're sitting in, English conversation class, and they don't like it. It's their least favorite class, but but they still give their best effort. They still try. They try to find some way to, overcome their fear or their dislike, and just, do what they should do. They know they should complete the homework. I once read a book that about being effective or efficient. It was something like, I didn't read the whole book, but it was something like you should, to be really effective in life or really efficient, whatever, you should choose your tasks for the day, or make your list or mental, whatever you do, and take your least favorite thing and put it at the top of the list and do it. Get it out of the way, And I try to tell my boys, you're going to be tired later in the evening when you're doing your least favorite subject because you saved it for the last thing to do your homework. Do that first. Get it out of the way, when you're not so tired, when you first sit down, and then save your more favorite things for later. It's not the intuitive thing to do, but I think, maybe the good student respects their classmates, has a high level of tolerance. If you put them into groups, they won't be like, I don't want to work with this person, or they're just understanding of their classmates. They're flexible. You can change things, and they bend to, do what needs to be done. So I think a good student is curious. They really want to know more about something. They could, say they're a bright student and they already know the topic, for example. They could have, you could go two ways with this. You could be like, I'm bored as hell, and they just, whatever, I'm not listening to that. Or, hey, I already know how to do this, but can I find something inside this topic that I can focus on that, that I like? Or what can I do to improve? If they've got this attitude in the back of their head, or this curiosity, why is that anyway? And today's the age of, really it's perfect for the curious people to just find out what they want, when they want, and this sort of attitude, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So,
excuse me.
What's your opinion on handling gun safety in the U.S.?
Wow, that's a loaded topic. So let's see.
A bit.
Well, how do I think that politicians should handle it?
For example, in our country, I think it's more safer. You don't hear as much about, for example, school shootings. Sure. And in the America, it's a hobby. It's more difficult to get a job than purchase a gun, I would say.
There's the again. Well, so the gun problem in my country, we do have an abundance of weapons, and it is easier to get a weapon in most places in the States than it is here. And it is easier to get them both probably illegally and legally. So I think maybe there should be a more difficult process to get a gun, that you have to really show that you are educated in the use of the weapon and safety and everything. Maybe it's different in some states and other states. The laws do vary. So I don't know a lot about many states. So, handling this, other countries like Switzerland, they have a lot of guns, and yet they don't have this epidemic of school shootings and mass shootings going on, right? Mm-hmm. So it's probably some kind of combination of the number of weapons easily available at the fingertips of whomever wants them, and couple that with, probably some, I don't want to say mental problem, but maybe too many people have these anger issues or aggression issues, and when you sort of put those two things together, it's a recipe for disaster, and how can we handle it? Texas tried to pass laws to have teachers have guns in Texas. I'm not a proponent of that. I guess just, like I said, maybe making it more, there need to be more responsible gun owners that lock their weapons or, store their weapons correctly, or, and maybe more attention to our society problem with mental health of our youth, for example, so that you don't have these situations like a mass shooting, and then after the shooting they interview mom and she says, I had no idea my boy was so troubled, This shouldn't happen. We should be more in tune with our kids, and I don't know.
So tell us the single biggest thing that influenced you here.
The single biggest thing that influenced me. I'm not sure if I have like one event or one person or one thing. I can say something that's changed me really is this experience of teaching English. Remember, I was a math teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you teach math, the focus is on the problem, the numbers, solving the problem. You sort of envelop yourself in this world, and there is not much, like other teachers of the humanities, teachers of languages and history and such. I know that they have often these issues of, in the USA especially, should I teach like Darwin or God, or should I you don't there are issues now about teaching of gender, and things like this. As a math teacher, you didn't have to worry about these things, right? It's just teaching math, and math is math, and you didn't have to worry. But now, but I guess teaching English, it feels like it's opened something for me, like that I like talking to people about interesting stories, about my life, about their lives. And there's this beautiful connection of between, you get to know students, and it's something that as a math teacher wasn't part of my game before, not to this level. Now you have a topic in conversation and talk about work, and you ask students where they work. Oh yeah, you're a cook. Oh, you do this. And it gives you a more complete picture of people, and it really has given me more, has added to my feeling about teaching being a beautiful thing, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll miss that. Maybe I'll try to incorporate it more in my math somehow. Yeah, when we design word problems, maybe.
Now? Would you rather fight a 1 horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Come again?
Would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
A horse-sized duck or a...
Yeah.
What's in your water? Maybe I need some of that. I think, if I had to choose, I don't say I like, but I would probably stick with the big duck, the giant duck or whatever. It's like, because the little ones, I'm kicking them out of the way, and then 3 of them jump on my back and start biting me, or something. I guess it makes more sense to, at least I've got this one enemy, and I can deal with that, maybe. Maybe I can run, or something big too maybe doesn't move as quickly, I guess. And I might be able to outmaneuver it. Is this in the next segment? Do I have to fight a...
So, basically this is a psychology thing, where when you choose the one big horse-sized duck, it means you rather tackle on a single big problem rather than smaller,
like that,
many
maybe.
smaller problems.
Yeah. So what does that say about me?
It means you...
That I'm scared of too many things?
You rather take on a big challenge rather than smaller things. And many smaller things, to be exact. And one last question that I would be punished for if I didn't ask you. Can you say r?
Can I say
R.
r?
Yes.
Like řízky, řízek, nebo skříň?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sure.
That is completely enough.
Yeah. So practice makes almost perfect.
Oh.
What? Can you say, I don't know, Susie sells seashells by the seashore?
I cannot. Can you say 300 stříbrných stříkaček stříkalo přes 300 stříbrných
like that?
Yeah, definitely.
Was that close?
We weren't even close.
No.
It's fine. So, thank you for coming to our podcast.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure, really honor. I appreciate it.
And to you, my dear viewers, we'll see you next time.
See ya.